This is the Jack Murphy Podcast. Here's your host, Jack Murphy.
A few weeks ago, I said, I think Jeffrey Epstein was a spy. I wasn't sure who Jeffrey Epstein was a spy for, but I think he was honeypotting a lot of people and then getting information out of them and money out of them and then maybe selling the information to some other government or using that information to stay out of jail. Now, I thought personally that it might have been Israel, but it turns out it was the USA. Or maybe Epstein was working for a couple of different countries. But we now know as of this morning that Jeffrey Epstein was giving information to the FBI. That's right, he was an FBI informant. Now, a lot of times the way the FBI works is, let's say you're the police chief in Charlotte or you're the sheriff in Charlotte, and you've been watching somebody that's involved in some pretty bad crimes, some pretty bad things, and you decide you're going to go after this guy. You've got some surveillance on him, you've got some evidence on him, and you get ready to make the arrest, and then some guy in a dark suit shows up. Maybe he's from the FBI or the CIA, and he says, look, I know you really want this guy, but this is a matter of national security. You're going to have to let this go. Now, I don't know the legality of that, but I know that it happens. I mean, you see it in the movies all the time where the FBI swoops in and says, no, this is national security. You can't touch this guy. And the sheriff or the police chief says, the hell I can't. I'm going to arrest that son-of-a-bitch and put him in jail. And then he said, you're about to get up. The phone rings, and he gets the call. He goes, yes, sir. Yes, Mr. Governor. Yes, yes, or somebody else in the government. And he drops the case. But the late tycoon and pedophile who died in the fall of 2019, age 66, while awaiting trial on sex trafficking charges, was more than just protected. He was a puppet, an informant and spy for the FBI, according to an intelligence agency source. This all comes from Radar Online, by the way. A 2008 internal file obtained through a successful Freedom of Information Act lawsuit says that Epstein was operating as an FBI informant before his 2007 sweetheart plea deal. The mistake that Epstein made, he got this real sweetheart deal back in 2007, but he just couldn't stop. He couldn't stop, and he kept on doing it, and at some point, it got so bad that the government said, nah, we're going to have to let him go. And that's when his troubles really started. Now, it's going to be interesting. A lot of people in the Republican Party, in the House and the Senate, are calling for Ghislaine Maxwell to testify and if need be, give her immunity. I think Trump has said he doesn't want to give her immunity. I don't think the government wants her to do anything. Now, she filed some sort of a court motion a few days ago saying that the government should honor whatever agreement she had with them, that she was going to give information in return for a light sentence or something, and I think that was rejected. But I don't think the government wants the truth about Jeffrey Epstein to come out. I don't think the Republicans want it or the Democrats want it because I think both parties knew about it. They enjoyed the information that he was giving them, but they didn't enjoy the pedophile stuff and the sex trafficking. Oh, we've just received an update here at the Jack Murphy Podcast that President Trump is not ruling out issuing a pardon to Ghislaine Maxwell, a co-conspirator of her former friend Jeffrey Epstein. So stay tuned. We'll update you as we get more information. So I don't know if you're aware of what's going on in China, but China's a mess right now. China has a leader that I think, President Xi, that a lot of other people in the Communist Party want him out. He's in a very weakened state. Their economy is teetering on the brink. Their real estate market has collapsed. They have millions of unemployed, unhappy people running around. And now they've got a terrible flood problem going on. I was looking at some video and some photos this morning of China, and it's terrible. I mean, they're getting unbelievable amounts of rain. The dikes are failing. That giant dam that they built has had some issues. A lot of people are predicting that at some point it's going to collapse. And all that's bad for the people of China. And I feel for the people of China. But there's something else happening in China that we need to be aware of. I mean, COVID-19 was bad enough. It killed millions of people around the world. The cure for COVID, the vaccine, killed millions more around the world. And now there's an outbreak in China. I'm sure I'm going to mispronounce this, but the Chikungunya virus in China has prompted authorities to take preventive measures from mosquito nets and clouds of disinfectant and threatening fines for people who fail to disperse standing water. Now, apparently, obviously, this one is not like COVID-19 in that it spreads person to person. It spreads by mosquitoes. There's 7,000 cases of the disease right now. It's similar to some other horrible viruses and diseases around the world. People with pre-existing medical conditions are most at risk, but it's certainly something to watch in China. By the way, I read something this morning that I was unaware of. You know, Hulk Hogan passed away, I don't know, a week or so ago, maybe 10 days ago. I can't remember now, but Hulk Hogan was 71. And I saw an interview with a doctor who was describing what probably happened to Hulk. We won't know until the results of the autopsy are released, but Hulk Hogan had a major back surgery where they fused his spine together, and you've seen these x-rays before where it looks like a Lego experiment. They go in and they put a cage around the spine and they put a bunch of screws in, and I think I read that the operation was like 12 hours long. And so after this operation, he was supposed to basically do nothing and allow this to heal, allow, the bone to grow to the screws that they'd put in and so forth. And apparently, this doctor said he believed what happened is that he had a hardware failure, probably from doing too much. He's an active guy, works out, etc. And I saw a video of him where he was trying to jog looked like he was in an automobile shop, a repair shop somewhere. But anyway, this guy said he probably had a hardware failure because they had to go back to the hospital and operate again. And he said the problem is when you've had a major surgery like that, when you go back in, it's much worse because there's still tons of swelling. The risk of infection is worse. You bleed more. There's a lot more trauma on the body. And he thinks that either they nicked something, maybe the vagus nerve, damaged the vagus nerve, nicked an artery. But basically, they did everything they could do for him and then just sent him home and to die, basically. And that's what happened. He had heart failure. But what I didn't know, and I don't know, this was this doctor's opinion. We'll find out when the autopsy comes out. But what I didn't know is that Hulk Hogan was estranged from his daughter, Brooke. I had no idea. I remember watching the television show, and it seemed like they got along well. But daughter Brooke is now saying that her dad's death is suspicious. The cops say it wasn't, and meanwhile, the stars all came out for the funeral yesterday of Hulk Hogan. Rest in peace. By the way, have you heard this song that's floating around social media? You can't go on the talk or Facebook or really anywhere without seeing. It's a band, I believe they're called the Creakers, and they do a cover of 1,000 Miles from Nowhere that's really, really good. And people are sharing it and stitching it and all the other things that you can do on social media. Very, very popular. They're kind of Luke Combs-looking guys. Beards, chubby guys with guitars, but man, it is a really, really good song. And for me, I like it because it reminds me of the older country. I like the older classic country. I don't enjoy a lot of the new country unless it's country. I love Lainey Wilson, but a lot of the country now, it's too poppy for me. It's more like pop country or pop music. It's not country at all. And a lot of the older country artists don't like it either. For instance, Aaron Watson. Aaron Watson has made his feelings known about Zach Bryan recently, and more specifically, the news outlets that cover Zach Bryan. I don't know if you know who Zach Bryan is, but he's a really kind of a pop country act. But here's Aaron Watson talking about Zach Bryan.
Hey, to all you country music news outlets out there, I'm speaking on behalf of country music fans around the world. We don't want to hear any more news about Zach Bryan. Zach Bryan has already said that he does not want to be labeled as a country music artist because his music is more expensive. Also, he's the guy that when he got pulled over by the cops, he gave him the "Do you know who I am" routine. He also told a 14-year-old fan to GOMD, which means get off my D. This guy's doing things that is making him the poster boy for Summer's Eve. So we don't want to hear that he's back on Twitter or back on X or anything about his new hair plugs or his ex-girlfriend Chicken Fry. Talk more about things like Miranda and her skirt.
I gotta say, that video's a little bit creepy. It's with the whispery voice. Has he ruined his voice or something? Because he sounds like he has damaged vocal cords, or he doesn't want anybody to know who he is, or something. It's just kind of creepy. And I didn't know Zach Bryan had a girlfriend named Chicken Fry, or that he had hair plugs, but whatever. All right, one final big story breaking today here on the Jack Murphy podcast. I came across a video last night of a woman who I believe she's in Minnesota. And she's very, very upset because apparently in Minnesota they have an invasive species called the Asian jumping worm. Never heard of it in my life. I don't know exactly what the damage they do is. I'm going to do some investigative journalism today, I promise, and I'll have more on this Asian jumping worm tomorrow. But this lady, she's very upset. Look at her and look how upset she is.
I cannot believe that I'm getting so emotional over a fucking invasive species, but
a bit of potty mouth,
these
too.
Asian jumping worms are absolutely destroying my will to live. Fuck, I know it sounds dramatic, but let me just tell you, we have an incredibly bad infestation of Asian jumping worms where I live. Our whole neighborhood has them. And every time I walk out my front door, I'm just like reminded of the complete and total destruction that these worms can cause. And we have no way of dealing with it. We have no way of stopping them. And if the infestation that is happening on my property now spreads out past like residential areas into wildlands, into agriculture, we are really fucked. We are so fucked. I keep wanting to make like informational videos to teach people about the jumping worms, how to identify them. But I don't know. Every time I go to make it, I just get fucking emotional about having to walk through my property and look at what they've done.
She's definitely got a potty mouth, that's for sure. I don't know what they do. I wish she would tell. I wish she would spend less time saying the F word and more time telling us what damage they do. And, I mean, do they jump out? Do they attack you or jump out of the ground? Or maybe get some chickens or some guineas. They love worms. They'll tear them up. But I don't know anything about these jumping worms, but I promise to do some investigative journalism later today and find out more about them. Thank you for tuning into the Jack Murphy podcast today. If you haven't, like this video and subscribe, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks for watching the Jack Murphy Podcast. Remember to like, subscribe, and ring that bell. Go ahead, ring it. Get alerts when a new episode drops, and tell your friends about the Jack Murphy Podcast. But only the cool friends, please. Tune in next time for another episode of the Jack Murphy Podcast.